What's up, everybody? Jared Cannata here, doing the first gear review on the page, review/demo. The first piece that I chose to look at. Millions of options, thought about guitars, thought about amps, but I thought a really cool piece to look at was the Ditto Looper pedal. For one reason in particular, because the page is mostly about learning and bettering our guitar skills, and this happens to be a great practice tool. So if you've never used a Ditto or a looper and you have no idea what a looper is, it essentially lets you record by clicking the button a piece of music, which could be a very short piece or relatively long piece, and then you can add more loops on top of it. So you can have a whole bunch of tracks playing at the same time, or you could just have one track and use it to practice playing your improv over or something like that. It's good for trying to write songs so you can listen back to the idea that you're working on. So this particular looper, from my experience, for one, is super simple to use. That's one of the great things about this pedal. Only two things on the pedal. You have a button and you have a knob. The button is used to record each loop or to erase the loop, depending on whether you click it once or if you click it twice, you would make it stop. So lots of different functions from that one button, but nonetheless, only one button. And the knob controls the volume of the loop that you record. So if you found that you were doing your loop and then you started playing over the loop to maybe practice a certain scale, let's say, and the loop seemed too quiet underneath the scale that you were playing, you just turn up the volume of the loop. The other thing I really like about this pedal is it's built like a brick. I'm very bad to this pedal. I travel with it to lessons, I keep it in my backpack all the time, and I kind of just toss it in there. I'm not good to the pedal at all, and it's barely been scratched, marred, or anything, and it works totally fine, even though I don't take care of it the way I probably should. If you look into other types of looper pedals, you'll see there's all kinds of different possibilities out there, a lot of which can get much more complicated. If you're looking to do some more intense looping where you can save a number of loops and go back to them at a later date or anything like that, this would not be the best option for you. This is just for, like I said, mostly as a practice tool. You can store your loop, you can make that loop have a bunch of different layers, and if you want, you can leave that one loop in the pedal until you come back to it, but that would be it. You can't exactly have a whole bunch of different ideas stored away on this pedal. So think of it more as a practice tool. I have played shows with this pedal before. Usually the only times I used this at a show was when I was playing a show by myself at, let's say, a wedding cocktail hour and things like that. So I might lay down some chords to work over, maybe even a little bit of a bass line, and then play over it. So what you decide to do with this Ditto Looper, which is a TC electronic pedal, by the way, is entirely up to you, but nonetheless a great practice tool. So now we'll check it out and see what it can do. Alright, so now we'll get looping and do some examples. So here's an example of an A minor chord that I'm going to put on loop, and then we'll work over it piece by piece. So here we go. A minor 7, actually. There's our first layer. If we want to add a second layer, we wait till the loop finishes, which it just did, so we'll let it start over one more time. Here comes a bass line. Now we start. Okay, so now from here, we now have a bass and a chord all looping in that short amount of time, and it'll just loop and loop until we tell it to stop. So from there, if we want to just jam with it and have some fun for practice, we could do that. could also continue looping away if we wanted to. So here's the start of our loop. Let's wait. I'm going to add another layer. 3, 4. So now we have another layer. Now I'll add another one. We'll do a harmony to that melody I just played. Pretty full loop, and if we want to jam on it for practice, we can. And that's pretty much how you use it. So if we wanted to stop the loop, we would double tap. And if you hold it in like I am right now, that will erase everything. If you just wanted to stop it, you double tap, and then you could always double tap to start the loop over again. So here would be another example. Let's say we wanted to practice some blues. There is our blues loop. So that's pretty much the way the pedal functions. Like we said previously, if you found you couldn't hear your loop well enough while you were playing it, you could turn the volume up from the knob. If it was too loud, you could lower it, so you get it to wherever you like it to be. I always find I like to have the knob set a little bit higher than halfway, because it seems like what I'm playing over the loop is usually a little bit louder than the loop if I don't do that. So I try to level them out a little bit. But that's pretty much the idea on how to use it. The most important thing that you might find yourself getting a little frustrated, especially if you've never tried this before, if you're new to the looping game, is getting your loops to be in time. So I definitely recommend that you try and use a metronome when you do your loops, when you're first learning how to do it, because the idea is however long your loop might be, whether it's 1 bar or 2 bars, for this example, let's just say 1 bar, you would want to hit the button to turn the pedal on to start your loop on beat 1, and then you would want to turn your the recording off. You'd want to hit the button again on beat 1 of the next bar. So you want to turn it on beat 1, you want to turn it off on beat 1, and if you miss that by even just a little bit, the loop will not play in time. It'll have that effect of like a record skipping. So then you end up with a loop that's really hard to play over because it's not in time. So timing is why this is such a good practice tool, aside from, you know, practicing playing over a certain chord or something like that. So I'm going to play very basic strumming here just to show you an example. If we click the pedal on beat 1 and get out on beat 1, we should be fine and we shouldn't have that skipping record sound. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. So as long as that happens, we don't hear any little glitches or hiccups in the loop, right? So now we have a nice solid loop that we could play over that's in time. So always keep that in mind when making your loops. If you decide to check out a Ditto Looper, feel free to message me. Let me know what you think about it, if you like it, if you hate it. But a great practice tool. Don't let it frustrate you at first. Just get used to playing in time and use a metronome if you need to. That's the Ditto Looper.